We may or may not have it right there and then. So, hey, hi, we're live. It's Jeff, and I've got the one and
We're
only
so good.
Tiffany Ott with me here. And, of course, Jennifer, who led our chat tonight, which was awesome. Great chat. We were trending in the United States again this week, which is great. So, bravo.
Bravo.
Oh, that's so cool.
Great topic. Great topic. I was actually on the phone with one of our new team members, Lexi, who's like the first time she was like really into the chat, and she's like, she's not a teacher, she's working with us in another capacity, and she says, she's like, before tonight I didn't know what hyperdocs were, but apparently they changed lives in classrooms all over the place. And I'm like, that's pretty much what I got out of it too. So yeah. great topic that like very specific, very detailed, which allowed everyone to really like get in and share some ideas and different ways for using it. I thought it was great. Like I love seeing how many times I saw someone post an idea and someone else be like, oh, I never thought of that before. Oh, that's great. I'm going to try that tomorrow. And like, just sitting there going, this is awesome. Like people we're totally doing what this is supposed to do right now. So it was really cool. So Jennifer, how are you feeling right now after that? It was a quick move in chat. We're trending again. Like your fingers on fire right now?
Well, I teach middle school, so I'm kind of used to
it. Another middle school person. Yes, we can weather any storm.
This is my 28th year of middle school, so I'm pretty much prepared for anything at any time.
Yeah, no kidding. So what do you teach?
Well, I started teaching English. That's where my degree is, but I actually am the AVID coordinator at our school.
Oh, nice.
And so I spend about 2/3 of my day with AVID, and then I do have two English 7 classes and a reading class for helping kids improve their reading.
Awesome.
So I've got quite a bit of different things going on, but in every single one of those, we use HyperDocs. And that is what is so cool about HyperDocs for me is this idea that we can use this as a tool to engage our kids and to allow me in a middle school classroom with 34 children to be able to be all over the place. And just like what happened in our chat when people were going, oh my God, I never thought of that. That's what the kids are going to do, right? And the kids are talking to each other, and they're just when I think that they're off task, I look over and they're having some deep discussion about something I had like, where did you get that? And you kind of forget I'm like, oh, that was on my HyperDoc? Oh, no. And it's really, it just feels good when the kids are learning that way. And they're hearing a person go, I can't get this to work. And then across the room, I hear someone go, let me help you. And, it really encourages this kind of collaborative culture in a way I never could get going in my classroom before.
Absolutely. And it really, to piggyback on that, the reason that collaboration can happen and has the freedom to happen is because you remove yourself from that role of all the dictating and all of the delivery of information. And then you can see all 34 kids. You can allow the students to be able to not only help each other, but make progress and develop some phenomenal leadership and collaboration skills, which are awesome, right?
Right.
Love it.
I have seen that, with kids who really struggle with someone being the boss, like they're in the middle. They want to show me, like, okay, well, we're here to learn together, and why don't this person was absent, you explain to her what you're doing, and then I walk away and I can kind of peek over my shoulder a little bit and watch her teaching in a way that it wasn't like, here, copy my notes, here's what we did yesterday. It let me show you, no, this is where you go and this is how you can do this. And that really feels good for even kids who are struggling with, there's always something that they can latch on if you've developed your HyperDoc correctly.
Yes.
It's not just a doc with links, because that's not what it's talking about. And I think HyperDocs gets a bad name when people don't understand what the real thinking and the creativity that goes behind it on the teacher end. It can spend me hours and hours creating a HyperDoc. I get kind of lost in it, but it's almost like I'm thinking through all my teaching for a week or a month or a unit in a way that I never did before, because I don't make it just for one day. I have to think about, here's the beginning, here's the middle, here's the end, and here's the extend. How am I going to get the kids where I want them to be and engage them and have them be creative all the way through?
So
that's the really cool.
Jeff, she's running a grid.
Yeah, and that's like I know, like I'm loving it because like that's the whole power. Like it works. That's what it works like when you put the purpose behind it and you allow them to move their own time. So like the whole time, so many things that I saw, I'm like, oh, this pieces of the grid method, and you're basically running the grid method. It's really cool. So
yeah,
I love the common theme through like the first question of what is it, like what's your definition. I love seeing so many people like, no, it's not just that. It's not just that. It's so much more. It's so much more. Then the other people being like, there was someone, I can't remember who was, she tweeted, she's like, all right, everyone else's answer was so much better than mine. Like someone else is like, yeah, mine too.
Like, yeah. That's what happens with HyperDocs, because let's say you're exploring a topic and you're using something like Padlet and you're having a kid share their thinking about what do you know, or what is this, or what does this make you think about, and then it just starts snowballing. And it's not really wrong, it's different, and then they can see how and communicate with somebody else. Oh, I get it now, you mean it's like this. That really does happen.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's it. To me, it's just so cool.
Yeah, it's so really excited. Cool. I love it. It was a really cool topic that I will say that I honestly was like, oh, that should be fun, but I didn't realize like, wow, okay, that got deep. Like that's really cool. Like how into everything else it went because of the purpose behind it. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, yeah, for teacher nerds and people who like to create curriculum, and I spend hours locked in this room about how am I going to make this. I started in HyperDocs because of Avid, because the Avid curriculum is so rich and there's so much there, and Avid kids have such a variety of needs that I needed a way to package and promoting and kind of be able to watch how kids were interacting with the curriculum. And I started making my HyperDocs for Avid, and then as I got to know Lisa and become more involved with other creators and see how they were taking their other curriculum, I HyperDocs and using them in my 8th grade classroom is completely doable, because I'm thinking, what's the pedagogy behind what they're doing, and how can I then increase the rigor to meet what my kids need? It's the same thing with being able to take any textbook that, if you want to ditch that textbook, you have to figure out, before HyperDocs, you have an explosion of links all over your computer, or trying to figure out how am I going to package all this stuff that I want to use and all these tools that I want to use. And so just from an organizational standpoint, it helps. But then thinking about, okay, I know that I want them to be able to do X, and what's the tool I'm going to need, and how am I going to build them up to that place? Was, for me, is kind of the creativity that goes behind it.
Can we give a quick shout out to Lisa? You mentioned her name. Lisa was super active, a lot of awesome stuff that she contributed. Can you give her a quick shout out, like who she is in her booklet? Okay.
Well, Lisa Highfill and Sarah Landis and Kelly Hilton are the 3 original co-creators of the HyperDoc Handbook, and they are all involved in education in Pleasanton, California, which is up here in Northern California, either as, they're all started as teachers, but are doing different things in the district right now. And they are super involved with not just, this whole idea of HyperDocs, but really the movement behind it is teachers supporting other teachers and sharing our resources and being able to collaborate together on how are we giving kids more agency over what they're learning, and how are we as teachers being able to leverage tech tools or whatever it is that we need to be able to get kids where we want them to be. And HyperDocs, is, I think like Lisa mentioned, for me, it's a great way of using in my classroom, but it's been almost an equally great thing for me professionally to develop a network of people who are not just using and creating HyperDocs, but are also thinking in ways that, how are we going to shift the way we've been teaching after No Child Left Behind, and kind of get kids into their critical thinking in ways that we had kind of pushed back in the past.
Yeah.
And I think Lisa mentioned in one of her tweets, like, don't be surprised if kids give you a little pushback on HyperDocs.
What do you mean you're not going to stand there and tell me exactly what to do and exactly what to think and exactly how to do it? Oh yeah.
Can't you just give us a packet? You know, I mean, like, and if you, I always say that kids have a love-hate relationship with HyperDocs because they know that there is going to be rigor behind it, and there's demands on their thinking, and there's demands on their ability to prove their thinking and show what they know and how they got there.
Yeah,
and that takes some training on our part and some persistence. I mean, you can ask my students 3 years ago when I first started using them. You can kind of overdo it on the HyperDoc. You can get a little too excited and make these big, ginormous, massive things that, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and then we're going to do this. And you realize, 2 months later, you're still in the same unit. And their attention span is kind of like, okay, really, when is this going to end? But I really like it.
I'm laughing so hard, Jennifer, because the thing that Jeff and I and Chad and Ray all train people on is the grid method, and the things you're saying about HyperDocs are the exact same things that we say about the grid, because it's the same idea. It's letting students move through the content and exploring it and going deeper than perhaps they have before. And everything that you're saying about students resisting it because they have to actually think, and having to train your students to function in this new kind of learning environment that they're not used to. I'm just laughing because it's literally the exact same things that we say all the time about the grid method, right, Jeff? I mean, isn't it like every training we do, or every time a teacher tries it and then is having some difficulty, it's like, yes, you have to train your students. Yes, you have to reteach them how to think and how to do all this. And so that's really neat. I had a lot of fun seeing those connections during the chat tonight. And there's another thing that came up, and I'm a big tech super nerd. I really, really love tech, and I really love effective tech integration. And a thread that came, a theme that came out right with that first question, what is a HyperDoc and what is a HyperDoc not? And, at its very basic definition, a HyperDoc is a document with links. Yes, but that's not at all the tool, right? And I think that a lot of people misunderstand what a HyperDoc is because it's a document with links, right? But in reality, it's all about integrating this very, I say simple, at this point in our lives, the simple technology of including a link, right? Which wasn't so simple 20 years ago, but that simple tool that we have, and then not just how do you use it, but how do you think about the pedagogy behind it, and how do you really use it to transform somebody? This is the one tweet I didn't screenshot of the night, Jeff, and I should have. I always screenshot tweets so that I can be like, I want to talk about that. I forgot to bring this one up, but it was all about that, how it's not the tool, it's the pedagogy behind the tool. And I was like, yes, tech geek in me is really excited right now.
Yeah, that is something that just we noticed happening as HyperDocs were catching on, and those of us who were presenting about them and going to different conferences, and it's not a doc with links. It's not a doc with links. It's not a doc with links. Because that is a misconception, because that has no thinking behind it. That's like, oh, you're stupid, right? I mean, that is not what it's about. I mean, I was a yearbook teacher for a long time too, and another part of the HyperDocs I love is the creativity and the visual appeal, and the idea that you want kids to engage with it in a graphic way too. I mean, if you look at some of the packaging that Lisa does, and Heather Marshall is another one of my friends who does beautiful, beautiful HyperDocs, and they are so visually appealing and user-friendly, the way that they're able to use color and font and illustrations to get their message across. How you can do that as a teacher and a creator to leverage that part of it. So you can hook kids in and say, what would you want a worksheet, or do you want this?
Yeah.
You know, that's part of the buy-in. And we have a media rich culture, and kids now are used to learning with different modalities like that. Yeah. We're doing a hyperdoc right now in my class on analyzing diverse media. And that's like the perfect topic for hyperdocs, right? Because you want to show them all different kinds of artwork, but you also want to have built in, it's not, I mean, there are links in that hyperdoc to different art, but there's also organizational structures. So, okay, have a debate about the pros and cons of having sidewalk art. And this is the strategy that's built into that. There'll be kids who are working on that part and spend a lot more time on it than maybe another kid who needs a little bit more scaffolding in just the analysis piece. And having those focus essential questions for me that override every hyperdoc is, it has to be the starting place. What is the essential learning piece that I want to have happen?
Absolutely. So Jennifer, as you were moderating this chat, right, like thousands of chats come across your stream, or thousands of tweets come across your stream. Were there any that especially stood out to you or surprised you? Any question that you were like, that's what I was trying to get them to discuss for this? Like what stood out for you in the tweets that we were seeing?
Yeah. Well, I didn't have time to screenshot anything. I could barely find my keyboard.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of people with a lot of excitement about it. And that's what I noticed when I present about hyperdocs or when I get in chats with my friends about them. But what really stood out for me was that people were getting that it is moving towards a student-centered curriculum and being able to differentiate and use this tool. I mean, somebody said, you know, you could, with Google Classroom and hyperdocs, you can differentiate in ways you never could before. And that's so true. I mean, I've been teaching a long time, and I know trying to differentiate with paper and, okay, you're going to read this. It just isn't the same thing.
Right.
Even within my hyperdoc, I can give the same hyperdoc to one kid and to all kids and have those choices. I've intentionally created ones that are more and less rigorous or are going to approach a kid who has strengths in different things so they can self-differentiate. So I really like that people were picking up on that part because that is huge in the hyperdoc community. Also, people picking up on the fact that when you are using hyperdocs in the classroom, it allows you to move about the room in a different way.
Yeah.
And I can be on my knees working with a kid who is an EL speaker, and I'm having to coach him in a different way, knowing that my kids are engaged and working hard. And I wish I could remember who said this, but you know how we went through the sage on the stage and then the guide on the side. Well, I heard somebody talk about using hyperdocs and ed tech tools as being the guide on the ride, because I find that in my classroom, I am exactly that, on the ride. You know, they are teaching me things, and I am able to, I get so excited. It's stupid. You know, like, I'm like, you guys, I can't wait. I've been working on this. I got so into this, and I want you guys to see this. And it's my excitement and my enthusiasm carries off. So we're picking up on that it allows teachers to have more mobility. I mean, if you're using hyperdocs and you're sitting at your desk, not only is that super bad.
I'm just laughing again, Jennifer, because these are the exact same things that we say. Like every word coming out of your mouth has come out of our mouths in a training that we've done with teachers. And it's like, yes, another person who has drank the Kool-Aid and gets it. Yes.
The kids are like, why do you have so many computers? I say, well, when I walk around, I need this one because I'm going to fall on you and I don't want to break the screen. You know, I need that one so the kid can go up there and it's connected to whatever. And it's like, you know, it's like a minefield in my classroom, but it's super fun. And
when you take this kind of approach to planning and teaching and learning, you know, you do a lot of work on the front end, right? It takes a long time to build a hyperdoc. It takes a long time to build a grid. And and that's actually really good because you're starting with the end in mind, backwards design, right? Like all of that really, really great stuff that we know works well. And then my favorite part of it is then you launch it. And will you have modifications and things that you have to work on in the process? Yeah, but it frees me up so much to be able to just step back and say, okay, where am I needed? What do students, like, how can I guide them a little bit this way, or check in here, check in here, check in here. At the end of the day, I'm exhausted because I'm running around all through class, but like I have so much less stress and anxiety now because I did the work on the front end. And then my students are really exploring, and I'm like, this is learning. It's great. I love it. You know what I mean? It's just such a cool experience when you see the fruits of those efforts come through. And I'm sure with HyperDocs and really with a lot of great instructional ideas that kind of look at a unit as a whole, right? The big picture view. The first time you do it is the hardest, right? Like the first HyperDoc you build, you're trying to wrap your brain around what's my goal? What am I getting at? How are my students going to navigate, maneuver through this? And then the first time you give it to students and they're like, this is chaos. What are you talking about? You are insane that you want us to do X, Y, and Z. And like that whole, it's a really steep learning curve. But then once you get that sorted, it's like, woo, and we're off and we're running and we're going places that we really didn't imagine we could go. And it's just such a neat experience. I love it. We need to sit down and chat more, Jennifer, because it's like we are speaking the exact same language and I love it. Definitely. We need to
kindred spirits. And teaching with HyperDocs, learning with HyperDocs is a huge brain twist for kids, but so is teaching with it. I mean, teaching with technology, it shifted my world, but then to be able to use it at such a high level with this, I had to rethink pretty much everything. My room, my physical environment is different. My assessment methods are different. My grading, everything really has shifted in a very positive way. And I am tired at the end of the day, but then I get excited when I know, oh gosh, today they're going to apply. You know, my kids today were either blogging or using Canva to create posters and teaching each other. And I learned some things today I didn't know.
Yeah. Such a neat experience.
How often is that, right? I mean,
where do you live, Jennifer?
I live in Davis, California.
Oh, I guess we have to go to California, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is.
There are a lot of HyperDocs in California. Where are you from?
Ohio. We're both in Ohio. Ray on our team is in Illinois, and we have a couple other people scattered elsewhere around the country. But Jeff, Chad, and I are all in Ohio.
Okay. Are you going to go to ISTE this summer? In I think it's in Pennsylvania.
I don't know.
No.
Probably gonna depend. Yeah, it's gonna depend on the schedule and stuff like that.
We're usually
summer's crazy,
bopping around at a bunch of different conferences in the summer. But if I can make it, because I desperately want to go to ISTE, and it's just a matter of if I'm allowed to, Jeff. He's probably going to be like, you've got like 5 other conferences you're presenting at that week. Sorry, Tiff. But anyway, Jennifer, thank you so much for moderating this chat and leading this discussion and just being another piece in the puzzle to getting people to shift their thinking about what education is and what it could be. And that's really exciting. And we're going to chat a lot more, Jennifer. Okay.
I'd love to, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of things that are going on that I would love to.
I'm foreseeing maybe a private Facebook group webinar / training or something.
That's
Jennifer in the near
future.
Page,
Jeff, Mister.
So let's make that happen. Do you want to touch on? So I echo Tiffany saying thanks for an awesome chat and for just being awesome in general. Next week, Tiff, we've got Brian Costello, if I'm right.
Yeah.
And we're talking about AR, VR. He says how to, how to create creating virtually
anything
with AR VR, creative title.
Ooh.
And I know this is something that I'm in a Voxer conversation group with Brian. That's all AR VR, and then Brian's big. Like this is like something he's really latched onto. So I'm excited about that. I did a chat like a couple months ago.
That's what I was
on
going to
AR,
say. Yeah.
So Brian's gonna be diving a little further into it, a little deeper into it, which is gonna be a lot of fun. So super excited for that.
Yeah.
So we'll see everybody back here next week.
Same time,
for
same
that.
Place. Yeah.
And you may want to, if you're not already, you should probably go over and get in our Facebook group, our private group, because you never know, we might pop up with a special live video in there with Jennifer one day. You never know. So I think that needs to happen. So Jennifer, we appreciate you and leading tonight, like Tiff said, and Tiff, I appreciate you too. Just I want to make sure you know that. Jeff. And we appreciate everybody who's watching, everybody who's in the chat and everything like that. So we will see you all next week. Thank you so much for everything you do. Night.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Bye.